Hi, this is Jeff from Airstream Nerds. I received an email a couple weeks ago from a company named Haloview. Now, they're a company that manufacture various types of camera systems for RVs and trucks, 18-wheeler trucks, and all kinds of different applications. I was asked if I would be interested in receiving some of their equipment so I could do a video on my YouTube channel here. I spoke with the gentleman. He asked me some questions about what my rig was. I told him I had a 25-foot flying cloud. I had a Ford F-150 Raptor as my tow vehicle, and based on that information, he told me that their new wireless range Dominator system, which is the RD7, which is the lower box, would be perfect for my setup. And then also he said that he would send along these CA112 left and right cameras, which is in this box, and a bunch of various installation and mounts stuff for my setup. Now, I specifically asked him if he was expecting a full install video for this, and they said no, that I didn't have to do a permanent install. But what I plan on doing in this video is doing an unboxing and going over all the pieces and parts that come in each of these kits, along with the extra parts that they sent me that you can purchase from them, and then doing a mock-up install. And I haven't really decided how I'm going to do the mock-up install. I'm definitely going to put the camera in the rig, in the cab of my truck. I'm definitely going to temporarily wire the rear camera on the back of the camper. It may not be up at the top where my Voyager camera is currently, but it will be powered somehow at the bottom. I plan on putting the side light, side mirrors, somehow powered with some temporary wiring, so we can kind of get the idea in the cab how this thing would look going down the road. And then what I may end up doing is doing not a permanent install, but an install enough that we can drive around on my truck and just drive around while the camera is mounted to the rack on my truck, the Lightner rack. So I may do that just so we can get an idea driving around how the side view cameras function going down the road, how they look as you're moving down the highway, how the rear camera looks, daylight, nighttime, and all that. So when I get back, we're going to start with the unboxing, and we'll see what all I have here.
Airstream song, cruising to the campsite singing our song. Airstream song, we are the Airstream Nerds. Yeah.
This is the Haloview 7-inch range Dominator system, model RD7. Now, I've already pulled the manual out of the box, but it has a decent little manual here. Let's see, piece of foam on the top here. Now, before I go through this thing, this system is for vehicles up to 80 foot long. The display is compatible with cameras, the CA108, the CA109, the 110, the 112, and then the cameras that we'll look at here in a bit, the 112L and 112R, which I think are the same as the 112. I think the 112 is the pair of the cameras, and the 112L is just the left monitor, and 112R is the right monitor. Now, this is the CA613. Now, that's the camera that comes with the kit. Now, they say that there's no signal drop when you're using the wireless when you're driving speeds up to 70 miles an hour. But I would probably guess that with the ratings that this thing has and the reviews that I've read, no one is complaining, and I don't think everybody stays below 70. So if there were some issues, I think 70, I think the company's just playing it safe. It does have an external range extender. It is HD resolution. It is a high brightness monitor, and it also is an IPS display, which basically means if you're wearing your polarized glasses, and you're driving down the road, that you can actually see and read what's on this display. Not all displays have that. It does have the capability of video recording. There's a micro SD slot in the top. Now I've got two different sizes. That says in the manual 128, says on the web page 256. I happen to have one of each of those cards, so we will test and determine if this thing does up to 256 gigabyte size cards. There are a bunch of different views on here. So this thing can support 4 cameras. So you can have a single view, you can have a split view with just 2 cameras, a split view with 3 cameras, or a quad display. So that's pretty cool. Each of the cameras have built-in audio. The camera has 16 IR LEDs with an IR cut filter, which makes for better image restoration when it comes up on here. This camera is IP69K rated for waterproof or weatherproof, whatever, which is the highest rating it can get. It also has an anti-vibration rating of 5.9G. So the overall size of this is 7.25 by 4 3/4. This is a hair over 4 3/4, and it's about 1 inch thick. We'll go over the various ways for mounting this thing in a bit. So we've got the camera. It's got a cable. That's a plug-in cable on here. Like I showed you the camera before. Now the camera has a sunscreen built onto this bracket. Again, we'll have to take a look. Now I think these are set up with the grommets for when you're going through the metal on the skin, if you're going to run the wire to the inside. And this monitor, this grommet seems like maybe it could be mounted somewhere as well, but this thing is not waterproof, so I'm not sure what the grommet is for. Maybe we'll get into that later. Also in the box, there are the thumb screws for the bracket, an Allen wrench, probably for tightening down the camera. There is some 3M VHB tape, some screws. Now these are Phillips. They look like Phillips head screws, or bolts with like permanent lock washers and washers with nuts. You've got a power cable. This is just a straight up power cable, and you'll see the different type of connections here. Now we'll look into this when I get more in depth into hooking it up, but there's a bunch of different types of cables and connections and options for power, but like I said, we'll go over that later. There is a pack of the 3M foam sticky wire ties. I guess if you are running the cable on the roof for the wireless extender part, you can use these to connect it down. Let's see, this is a plastic sunscreen shade basically for the camera. That snaps on like so. It just gives you a little less sun protection when you're driving down the road. And you have a metal mounting bracket again for the screen. It goes like so. On this side, you have so these, I don't know if that's some sort of bendable, it's plastic, but these things kind of bend and hold their space. So it must be molded with metal in there. So for different contours, it's got the 3M tape on the back. So you fold these down when you're attaching it to your dash or wherever, and this will somehow mount to the various different mounting methods. which again, we'll go over in a little bit. This is your wire for your, essentially I think this is a wireless repeater. This is the transmitter for the cameras that the cameras attach to wirelessly. And then this device connects to the camera, I believe is how the technology works. Again, I haven't looked at the manual yet, but I will go through that and we'll have answers for all that as we go. And this wire is supposed to be, it says it right here, it's 12 meters. So this is a 12-meter extension cable that essentially goes from one of the cameras, from one of the cameras here to this device here. So this will allow you to run your wires. And that is, oh wait, we have one more thing in here other than the little sugar package that you shouldn't put in your coffee. You have, and yes, for those of you that are going to hear that, I know it's not sugar packets. And you have your antennas for the wireless repeater, or the wireless transmitter, I should say. The smaller one that has a, pivot functionality, and the larger one for the monitor, which has the same pivot, and they are labeled monitor. Well, the monitor one is labeled monitor. So that's everything you have in this box. This is the 112 CA112 left and right cameras. So let's see what's in this box. Now this one I haven't taken the manual out, but it's packed pretty much the same. Those are the camera specifications. All these cameras are 720p cameras, and they record in using the H.264 codec. These cameras are also IP69K rated, so therefore they basically can go through just about anything, and you don't have to worry about, that was a silica packet. You don't have to worry about them getting damaged by water or dust or anything. So in this box you have some wire crimp connectors. Looks like you have 10 of the, see, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like 8 of them. You have some self-tapping, probably stainless steel. So they look like they could be stainless steel screws. Let's see. If they're stainless steel, but they have a little bit of magnetic property. So I'm hoping that they're giving us stainless steel screws. I'll check on that later and let you know. Then you have the, which one is this one? Oh, that's the CA112 left. So I'll do a close-up of this in a second. You have the right camera. You have another silica packet. And you have the 2 antennas. So let's look a little closer at these side cameras, since we're all pretty familiar with the rear cameras. So the side cameras are made with a built-in light. Now I know on the Airstream that these lights are not the same size lights as what we have on there, nor is the shape the same or anything. But I did talk to them, and the engineers said that you can remove the lights and not use the lights functionality. The way the wiring is set up, you can eliminate the lights and still use the bracket and then the camera. So that is the camera. So essentially, it's kind of neat the way they have this. So this would mount onto the side of the camper where a light is, and this would be mounted on the side. So maybe the side marker is closer to the hitch end of the camper, the front end of the camper. You would mount this on the side, and this would allow you to essentially look down the side of your camper. Again, I don't know what the view of these are. I imagine they're a bit wide angle. They are adjustable, and they actually click to adjust, so there are no screws to tighten or to get loose while you're driving down the road. I like that. And it's a pretty solid click, so this thing's not going to vibrate out of wherever you have set it going down the road. So I do like these. They're kind of cool. I just wish or hope that I could figure out, if I decide to do a permanent install, I hope I can figure out a way to put these on that doesn't take away from the look of the Airstream. Definitely can take the light off and put these on the truck. So maybe these are something that I can do some sort of plug, have some wiring run for power on these, and have these detachable on my rack on my truck. And that'll give me, still, my truck is wide. I can still get the view on the side going down the road. But we'll look into that when I get to the install. These are kind of cool. I like them. So lastly, they sent me some miscellaneous install parts. Now, this first piece here is just one of those beanbag mounting things for the display. So the display mount would sit here and it would suction cup to this, and this sits on my dashboard, and that's supposed to hold everything in place. So that's one option. We will be testing all these things out. Let's see what this is. Oh, this is the suction cup. So this is going to go suction onto here, and then the monitor mounts to this. And so you have various tilting capabilities and rotating capabilities with this mount. So that's essentially for inside the vehicle installation for the monitor. These two pieces are, and all these parts are available from Haloview. Get a pair of scissors here. Not quite sure what these are. Some sort of brackets, they feel like. Aha. So this looks like, well, without taking it out, well, no, I can take it out. The screws aren't loose. They're in a bag. So I think this is the bracket that will allow me to essentially hot swap the Voyager. Since the Voyager camera already has the power, I think this is the adapter to go from the power that's already run to the Voyager to this camera. This is an alternative bracket for mounting to the outside, along with an adapter for the Voyager camera that's existing. So it saves me from having to rewire a bunch of stuff. So that's pretty good. And I'm pretty sure I know what this last piece is. So these are actually two pieces, but this piece is attached pretty good. So this is a piece of steel, or stainless steel, or something that's magnetic, that has a 3M tape. So what this is going to allow me to do is, if I didn't already have a hole on my camper, I have this magnet. So this, so I know what the bracket is now. So this will get attached with the double-sided tape to the camper. This mount, I thought this mount might have been for this, but It is instead, you can see how the, can you see in there? Yeah, you can see in there. So you can see how the holes line up with this. So what I will do, if you didn't want to drill into the side, is this gets attached to the camper with the tape, and you probably want to do some sort of caulking or something. You peel the protective plastic off. So this is a shiny metal, as you can see. And then, I mean, that's, yeah, I'm not going to pull that apart without bending that plastic. So this magnet should, I mean, it's pretty solid, sticking it to my cabinet here. This magnet will hold the camera on the side of your camper, so you can basically install it without running any wires. If for somehow you were able to run the wires on the top of your camper, down the top of your camper, and your camera was mounted near the top of the camper, then you could mount this plate like I showed you, and it would stick right to it. So it's a pretty good little option. And here are the couple of bolts and the Allen wrench, little Allen head wrenches that will bolt that bracket onto that magnetic base here. So those are all the pieces and parts. Like I said, I'm going to mock this up, and when I get back, we're going to watch it work on the workbench here. I have everything hooked up. The camera is out on the end of my little utility trailer, as you can see there. And I have the rest of the gear set up in here. Now, I'm just using my jump boxes for 12 volt power. This one happened to have a 12 volt accessory plug, and my other jump box, which is putting the power to the two side cameras and the back camera. Now here's the monitor. Now I've already set it up. I've used the, like I said, the accessory plug that comes with it. Just plugs in your cigarette lighter, and there's an on-off button here. Turns the screen off, turns the screen on. I like that, but I normally, since my lighter plug is always hot, I always unplug these when I turn off the car anyway, because I have a couple things that plug into this when we're pulling our camper. So we'll show you different mounting applications of the monitor later, but I just wanted to show you what the hookup is. There is an additional cable that replaces the cigarette lighter plug with a hardwire application that also has triggers. So what this will do is when you put on the turn signals, it will turn the turn signal on, and when you turn on the turn signal, a trigger will come and the camera will automatically switch to whichever camera you're selecting with the turn signal. So this is a good hardwire application. I take my camera in and out of my tow vehicle, so I do not want to do anything hardwired with it, but they do provide that cable. So with the side marker cameras, it's pretty easy. They're literally a positive and a negative. There are 4 wires here. There are 2 grounds and 2 positives here, and that is because you can take the light out of the equation and just use the camera and the bracket. Now the blue wires and the black wires I've added just so it was easier for me to hook things up and move them around. The blues are my positives, the blacks are my grounds. So they're pretty easy. They literally are just 4 wires. They're 2 wires each, depending on if you want the light or not to work. So the camera, however, is connected with this transmitter. So the transmitter has the antenna. It also is connected to this Y cable. Now this Y cable provides the power, which is this little coil here, and these little wires here, which is just, like I said, the black and the blue. Simple plus and minus. Then on the other end is that long coil of cable that goes out to the camera, which I have sitting outside right now, just so we have some separation of the views, and it was easy to do. The transmitter box and the monitor are pre-paired when you hook them up. So there's no pairing you need to do with that. They're prepared at the factory. However, the side cameras are not. To get into pairing mode, super simple. Hit the menu, or not hit the menu, hit the select button to switch to the camera you want to pair. And in these cases, they are camera 2 and camera 3. All right, just you can hear the echo and everything. So these cameras do have audio. I've already checked them all, but it's going to be super annoying. So if I go in the menu, I hit the audio functions, I go down and I mute it. All right, so now audio on these cameras is off, which you probably, I know I use it when I drive down the road with my Voyager, but in this situation, the audio is super annoying since we're standing right next to the cameras. Otherwise, it's not as annoying. It's actually useful. You can hear what's going on. You can hear the noise of the car next to you, and so you have a visual and an audio cue. But going back to pairing, so you go into the camera. Now, when I first started, this was a blank screen, and basically, if you hold the OK button down for 2 or 3 seconds, the black screen comes up black, and it says pairing mode. Then you go over to the camera, and you just press this button here, and that will pair the camera. So now I set this up originally for camera 1, but when I paired the second of these cameras, this camera switched to 2. So I believe that your side cameras are set for 2 and 3. I'm not sure. So you go back into the select button, switches all your modes, as you saw. So I got my left and my right, I got my rear, and then I have this set for quad view, or tri-view, I suppose. So there are a bunch of screens like this in the menu. So you can't get into the menu apparently when you're in the tri-screen mode. So if you go to, one other thing. When I first paired, I had to go into mirror mode, and you have various mirrors. So you have the upside down view, the upside down flip view, then you have the upside down and the upside down flip view. So this is the correct view for what I need. So you'll have to go in and change the mirroring function. But to change your mode, it's the Q mode function right there. So you go over to the Q mode, and now you can set up the different views when you hit the select button. Now I have the third mode as the triple, the 4, 2, and 3 mode, as you saw. So when I scroll through the cameras, I have the 4 individual cameras, and then my last one is all 3 pictures at once. All right, so as you can see, with the Voyager camera, power is into the inside, which is connected to the light, like I said earlier. The transmitter or the receiver, or whatever you want to call it, is inside the camera. With this system, the camera and the transmitter are separate. So what they have done is they have created a camera that's the same as what the Voyager is, but you can put the transmitter somewhere different, and you don't have to drill a hole and feed wire inside your vehicle. So what would happen is you would mount your camera, and what they recommend is they have a bracket that you can use that I don't think you need to, because this bracket seems to be almost the same as this. So I'd be willing to bet that you can get this camera inside this camera off and this camera mounted. But the problem is then you have your cable going up the side with the rest of this cable with the other end of the cable mounted on the roof towards the front with your transmitter, like I showed you earlier when we had it hooked up on the bench. So what they have done instead is they've included a piece of metal that you can mount with the adhesive that's there, and you can just mount this there. Then this magnet would get bolted to this, to the current bracket, and then the magnet would connect it. This would get the camera up higher and your wire would be hidden, but then it takes away being able to see the very lip of the back of your vehicle, which for some people that might be all right. So this thing's still going to get within, be able to see. I'd like it mounted lower because I want to use the camera. I really want to see the bumper of my camper, so I can pull the camper right up to a fence or right up to a wall, and I know that I'm right up on it. So there's a couple of ways that they have for mounting this. This cable's long enough to reach to the front. You can mount this transmitter on the front of your thing, the roof of your camper, and then you would use this lead coming off the other end. This is the other end, not this end, and that's where you would get the power to feed to your camera and to the transmitter. So let's talk about mounting these side cameras. Now I'm not going to do the install on my camper because I've already got the Voyager, although maybe in the future I will, but I found a very good spot to put these. So on the front of my camper, we have these protective stainless steel plates, and on these is a reflector. Now that reflector is just about the same size as this whole camera. So it would be very easy to pull this off and mount this in its place. It's hollow behind it, so it's easy to drill a hole and run some wires. This whole thing can come off, so you could do the whole mounting with this sitting on your workbench. And the wiring, right inside of the wiring on my camper here, is where all the DC voltage is. So it'd be very easy to find where the light wires is, so this camera would only come on when you have your lights on. With the monitor in the vehicle, there are a bunch of different ways that they have made to be able to install it. First thing is, if you're in a vehicle that you can mount permanently, they have a bracket that you could bolt down to your dash, or if you have a semi-truck or something like that and you have a place. So they have a bracket that you can mount, and then on the side there's thumb screws, so you can tilt this. So that's one method. Definitely won't be using that in this vehicle. Another method they have is they have the sandbag, that if you have the type of dash that's flat and the sandbag works, which obviously mine isn't that good for it, they have the suction cup, which would attach to the sandbag. Actually, it attaches pretty good to the sandbag. And then on the back, all this little thing slides up into the groove. You can tighten it down and then put the suction cup on there, adjust it to where you want, plug the monitor into your cigarette lighter, and you're good to go. There is a third mounting method, and there's plenty more. There's all kinds of custom mounts. This is a glue-on. They got this 3M tape on here, but also, like I showed earlier, these fingers will mold to where you're at. So we could put this right here, bend these things down, and then fold everything down, and it would stick on there pretty good. It's a ball mount, so you loosen it up, you slide this down onto the back just like before, tighten up the collar, and you're in business. One last thing I failed to mention earlier is that this also suction cup is like a normal suction cup mount with a thing that will suck it on, so you could mount it to the window without any of this whole dash thing as well. I have the cameras installed temporarily on my rack, on my truck, to simulate how they may be on the camper. Now, I'm not, like I said earlier, I'm not installing on my camper, but I have the transmitter thrown back there, which is close to where it would be on my camper if I was going to install it, because it would be up towards the front of my camper there, which would be only a few feet difference from here to here. So let's go ahead and get in the truck and let's see how this thing works. You can see I have the monitor installed with the suction cup, and I also have the shade that snaps on it. And this is the view of my 3 cameras that I have installed. The rear, the passenger side, and the driver's side cameras. Now you hit the select button and you can roll through. There's the driver's side, there's the passenger side, and there's the rear. So we're going to take a little drive down the road here and see what it looks like when we're moving. All right, so now I'm getting on a 50-mile-an-hour road, and right now I'm doing 60. Kids, don't try this at home. So as you can see, as we scroll through the cameras, there is the side camera on the driver's side. There is the side camera on the passenger side, and that would be the rear camera. Back to all 3. Okay, before we get going, a couple of things. This is our night vision view. Now I'm parked obviously right in front of my garage and it's all lit up, but we're going to go down the street here in a second. But I wanted to go over a couple of things. One, in the menu I was able to switch off camera 1 in the scroll. So now when I scroll through my cameras, it only puts up the 3 cameras and then the tri-view. Also, I said earlier in the video that I was going to test the 128 versus the 256. Turns out I do not have a 256 micro SD card, so I will not able to test that. But I did stick a 128 in and set it up, format it and everything. And as you can see, when I hit the OK button, you can see the little record light comes on. So as you can see out the window, it's dark in this neighborhood. And you can see pretty good out using these cameras. So there's one of the side views. Now imagine that on your camper for when you want to change lanes or check your blind spot. That ought to work pretty good. And I have the rear camera facing down. It's probably getting some light from my license plate lights, but it does work pretty good here. I'm gonna go down here and shut off all the lights at the end here where it's pitch black. Right now, there is no artificial light out of the back of this vehicle. Let's switch between the cameras. So there's one side view. Now, if I hit the brakes, it really lights it up. So on the side of the camper, you're going to have lights, you're going to have brakes, so you're going to have some light back there. So it should be pretty good for viewing, backing up or whatever. Same thing with the other side. There's no lights. There's my brake lights. And there's the rear view, which is pretty bright in itself. Mainly because the IR light is hitting right off the edge of my tailgate right here. Now, if this is on the camper, you'd obviously adjust the view so you wouldn't have anything like that. But it works pretty good. So here we are backing back up my driveway. Now, this is more like what you're going to find when at least you're camping at a campground or something like that. Very rarely are you going to have a time where you're backing up and you have zero visibility as far as light goes. Most of the time you'll have some sort of artificial light, not to mention the lights from your camper and your truck. So you should be able to see very well backing up here. So again, there's my side view, which you can see there's a vehicle back there. And then if I wanted to look on the other side view, you can see there's my garages. And what's really nice about this is as you're backing up your camper, as you know, you have you essentially are jackknifing your camper, so there's always going to be one side with the rear view camera and or the just your mirrors. You're not able to see one side of your camper when you're backing in somewhere, unless you're pulling straight in or straight out. But with this, so if I'm backing up right now, I may be able to see one side of my camper, but I can always switch to the other side of the camper and see that side of the camper, whether I'm close to a tree or anything. So it's a really good idea. These side cameras are really nice. I really like them. I hope you've liked my review and everything having to do with this camera system. I think it's a great setup for those who do not have a system on their vehicle already. This might be something to look at. Once again, this is Jeff from Airstream Nerds. I appreciate you guys watching. Hit the like button, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next trip.